Hello and welcome to another episode of the Buckle Bomb Show here on Bomb Media Productions. My name is Bobby. I'm so happy to be here to talk professional wrestling with you guys today. I'm joined, as always, by my broadcast partner, Anthony Roan. Tony, how you doing, buddy?
It's a beautiful day, brother. It's a beautiful day.
That it is. We got a lot of wrestling to talk about today, a lot of stuff. We're going to go ahead and continue what we've been doing. We're going to slide through it a little bit faster, but we're going to go ahead and talk about everything that happened on pro wrestling in primetime television this week. We'll go ahead and start right off with Raw. It started off with the 20th anniversary celebration of Randy Orton with Riddle hosting events and a bunch of superstars on the outside of the ring cheering him on. Of course, as can happen in the WWE, and in fact usually does, we ended up with some shenanigans, some people coming out. Cody Rhodes came out at one point, and of course Seth Rollins was already on the outside. He intervened in his incredibly annoying way that I hate, way over the top, and and you know that one thing led to another. Eventually, you had Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Riddle, and Ezekiel out there, sort of facing off with Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and the Usos. So, what do you know? We got our main event for the evening after Adam Pearce comes out and makes it official. What do you think of this opening segment?
I thought, usually celebrations within the WWE have a way of turning into taking the attention off of the superstar in which they're trying to honor. They used it to set up a match, and it's one of those matches where we know what's coming up with the next pay-per-view. So it's the classic spoiler, preview match for the pay-per-view coming up when you're trying to get it out there. The little legacy reunion, I thought that was pretty cool. I myself personally was a fan of Seth Rollins coming in the way he did. But yeah, it's classic WWE programming.
Yeah, definitely very classic, especially for an opening promo or in-ring interview segment for WWE. You set up your main event. After that, we got down to what I thought was happening for WrestleMania Backlash, but apparently it was on Raw this week. We had Bianca Belair versus Sonya Deville for the Raw Women's Championship. Sonya Deville got counted out, which Sonya Deville then grabbed the mic. Nope. As a WWE official, that we're restarting this match, but with no count outs. And then Sonya Deville got disqualified, and she did the same thing again. We're restarting this match, but no DQs. Which led to Queen Zelina and Carmella coming out to try and basically make it a 3-on-1 against Bianca Belair, but Bianca was able to still come out on top and defeat Sonya Deville, which led to some smacks in the face by Deville in the backstage area later on. What do you think of everything that happened here?
Man, that match was, again, WWE being classic WWE. They've had the abuse of power character for quite some time now. And, so it's par for the course, but at the same time, entertaining, trying to keep in mind that WWE is trying to appease to a wide age range. So if you keep that in mind, you can find the joy in WWE again, hopefully.
All right. After that, we had Veer Mahan versus Random Jobber. Another squash match. Anything to add about this?
Another jobber in another city, brother. They're going to keep doing this until he gets the attention of somebody who's probably holding gold, I would imagine.
And again, was not on the Hulu version of Raw. We have Omos and Bobby Lashley in an arm wrestling challenge. I skipped over this because I did not care. Apparently, Bobby Lashley defeated Omos, but I did kind of pop in at the end and saw that Omos left Bobby Lashley laying. What'd you think of this?
Again, 3 for 3 this week so far with Raw. Classic WWE shtick, if we can put it in, if it makes sense. Most of the time, it doesn't even have to fucking make sense. They're gonna try and pipe it in there. The arm wrestling is something that WWE has been doing as kind of a we got two big guy filler for a long time now. Uh, the feud almost seems like it came out of nowhere. Am I right about this? Like I'm very fuzzy on how this formed.
It came up very quickly before WrestleMania. There were rumors about it. I think they were waiting to see because Bobby Lashley was hurt. So I
Yeah.
think they were waiting to see whether or not it could happen. And then, yeah, very quickly, Omos made an open challenge. I think the Raw before WrestleMania, and out came Bobby Lashley. But after that, we had another thing that was not on the Hulu broadcast. Akira Tozawa and Tamina defeated Reggie and Dana Brooke with the whole 24/7 title shenanigans here. What'd you think about this? I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, I again hate the 24/7 championship. I think it needs to be dissolved. I think if you want to do something like that, go back to the hardcore title. Um, Interesting, fun little fluff of a mixed tag team match, but again, 24/7 championship stuff just isn't sitting right with me.
As long as Raw is going to be 3 hours, and it's going to continue to be 3 hours for at least the foreseeable future, you need something to fill that time with, and the 24/7 title is exactly what WWE wants for that. So
No,
it's not going away anytime soon.
no, you're absolutely correct. And but in my opinion, there are three things that have put WWE in a really, really bad position. Turning Austin heel in 2001, I will fight anyone on that. The steroid trial and making Raw 3 hours long.
Yeah, yeah, it's a slog to get through, even the Hulu version, which is shortened up. On the Stone Cold heel turn, we did get some fun and terrific stuff out of heel Steve Austin. As much of a mistake as it may have been, chicken shit, you know, kissing Vince McMahon butt Stone Cold was absolutely hilarious, especially the stuff with him and Kurt Angle in the back. Fantastic
I
stuff.
will give that to you. I'll give that to you.
After that, we had a returning Becky Lynch on TV for the first time since her loss to Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. She came out, she was in a mood, kind of heartbroken about her loss, but then turned it around in the end. It's like, no, wait a minute, I'm rock bottom. This means all I got to go from here is up. And then out comes Asuka. Huge pop, big return. I love Asuka. I love everything about Asuka. What do you think about everything that happened here?
It was really interesting because it's very rarely we get that realization in a character in professional wrestling of the only way to go up from here. Now they did an awesome job curtailing that by bringing back a debut or re-debuting Asuka, who, much like you, big fan of Asuka, big thing of everything about it. Uh, Even really enjoyed the Kabuki Warriors when she had that going on. But in my opinion, the women's division on Raw has been lacking some depth because you have everybody chasing the tag team title right now, it feels like. So to have Asuka come back into the mix is something that was desperately needed for Raw.
And the 24/7 title. You got Tamina and Dana Brooke in that whole fiasco as well that we were just talking about. But
I try
yeah,
to forget.
but yeah, Asuka is one of my favorites for sure. Has been for a long time. Just such a ball of energy and charisma. And even though her English isn't very good and she can't really get on the mic, she's just you can just tell that she's having a good time and loving every bit of it. Heel or babyface.
Absolutely.
Then we had Damian Priest come out against Finn Balor and defeat Finn Balor clean. Of course, this is going to add to a lot of people's dislike of how WWE is using Finn Balor, but I have no problem with this either. Right now, you're building up Priest and Edge. They had a fun entrance for sure, very interesting entrance anyway. What do you think of this?
Um, this is what again. I'm happy. that they used Damian Priest to get a W for the Brood.0 or whatever the hell you want to call them, especially without any of the wackiness that has been going on with that stable or faction. But like you said, though, the whole Finn Balor just eating L after L after L has to stop eventually.
Yeah, well, I think that's the role they sort of have Finn Balor in right now. He's the over baby face, but they don't have a whole lot. They've got so much going on with other things. They don't have a whole lot for him in the moment. So he's the guy who's over, who can put someone else over until eventually they got something specifically for him. But yeah, I hear you. His talent's not going to waste. He's getting guys over, but
All I'm saying is somebody's name got name dropped a lot at the New Japan Wrestling Dontaku last night. There may be a certain prince on his way back to New Japan.
we'll see. I don't. I'm curious. I am curious to know where he is contract wise. Is he at the end of his deal? I don't know.
It's been about 3 years, I believe, since he signed his last deal. So maybe.
All right. After that, we had another fun segment. The Miz came out on Miz TV, was talking with Austin Theory, and which I liked the little moment where they were discussing Theory's new name, that he's just Theory, and Vince McMahon wanted it to be just Theory because the Miz was going, is it the Theory, as in the Miz? But that was a fun little bit. But out comes Mustafa Ali, a big return, a big pop for him. Weren't sure we were ever going to see him on WWE TV again, but apparently they worked some things out, and he might be getting into a title feud with, excuse me, I almost called him Austin Theory, but with Theory for the U.S. title. But he got into a match with Miz here and got a big win over Miz. What do you think of this?
Right now, I think The Miz is one of the more entertaining wrestlers on the WWE roster. Theory has an opportunity to eventually be at that Miz level one day for me. Just, damn, that kid is full of charisma. But then you have the returning Mustafa Ali getting into the mix, which myself personally, I'm still under the free Ali camp, but that's neither here nor there. It's an interesting way to bring him back into the fold. I think Theory and Ali could have a very interesting clash of styles when it came to a match. Then you're adding The Miz, who's more grounded as kind of like the old school kind of wrestling guy, which is weird to say now about The Miz. But it definitely left some intrigue for me.
Yeah, certainly. And then, did they drop the Tommaso and Tommaso Ciampa? Is it just Ciampa now?
I'm pretty sure it's just Ciampa now, yeah.
So he would come out and attack Mustafa Ali from behind. I forgot about that. I thought he was going to go into a feud with Theory, but you're right. Tommaso Ciampa, Ciampa came out and attacked Mustafa Ali from behind. I'm surprised they're still calling him Mustafa Ali.
Didn't they give just Ali before he left?
Yeah. Well, maybe that was part of his agreement to come back on TV. Part of, hey, we want you back. All right, you can keep your full name. And then we had our 8-man tag team match. RK Bro, Cody Rhodes, Ezekiel would go over the Usos, Seth freaking Rollins and Kevin Owens. What do you think of this?
Excuse me. It was one of those matches that was designed as a nice little, hey, we're going to send the crowd home happy kind of bit. Especially, I don't know if anything happened after the cameras went off, but you had, all those guys in the ring together, and you know how Cody is the biggest fan of himself, and if you give him a mic, he'll go for a while. So, it was a fun little match, a nice little preview of what's to come, though.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on over to SmackDown, which started off with the steel cage match between Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. Now, the build of this was how it was Sami Zayn getting away, and I touched on last week about how a cage match in WWE they're building up. Oh, Sami Zayn can't get away. In WWE, that's the point of a cage match is to get away, and of course, that's exactly how it started off. With, in fact, if Sami Zayn gets away again, he wins this time. So the way they build the match doesn't equal the WWE version of the match. But hey, it worked. Drew McIntyre got his win with the Claymore kick. Quick, easy match, blows off, I think, the little feud here they had going. Because as we'll see, they're setting Drew McIntyre up for bigger and better things later on. What do you think of this?
This is one of the better things that come from SmackDown this week, unfortunately.
Yeah, right at the top. A nice, fun little start to the show. I skipped right over the Happy Corbin Madcap Moss stuff because I don't care. So I
Well,
have no idea what even happened here. But what do you think about this?
this was the most messed up segment I think I've seen in a while. You know, Happy Corbin's out there. I think it's called Happy Hour or something like that.
Happy talk.
And
Yeah.
Happy Talk. And he was talking about how he wanted to melt down the Andrew the Giant Memorial Trophy. And he called it out, and then you got the two movers coming out, and one's got the hat real low, but you still notice the beard and everything like that. Um, like we were talking about earlier, this was one of 11 professional wrestling shows that happened this entire week from 7 different companies. And I know last segment I just talked about how I'm trying to see WWE in a more shining light, but in my opinion, SmackDown was number 11 on that list. Actually, 12 because I had a 5-star match on 2K22.
All right, we'll move on from there, where Ricochet would defend his Intercontinental title against Shanky. What do you think of this match? Ricochet would go over with a quick pin in the end. What do you think?
Uh, Unfortunately, I think it was less about the Intercontinental Championship and setting up whatever the hell is going on between Shanky and his name's escaping me right now,
Jinder Mahal.
Jinder Mahal.
Which there could be
And if you
something there
recall,
between Mahal and Shanky if they want to build Shanky up. But yeah. And then after that, we had Raquel Rodriguez defeated female jobber. What do you think of this?
it's a good way to introduce her to your wider audience. Still kind of head scratching about in 2022. They're still trying to work over that sexy Latina gimmick that they've tried so many times before. But yeah, this is what it is. You got to build somebody up before you inevitably get bored with them and break them back down.
She's got size. She's got a look. I liked her promo ahead of the match. So yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with Raquel Rodriguez. Kat Cardoza, this jobber here. I liked her look too, but she's just local talent number 10, I'm sure. And then we had RK Bro and the Usos in their unification title match contract signing, which went as contract signings always do. It fell apart. The head of the table would come out, and they would be beating down on RK Bro, and who should come out to make the save but Drew McIntyre, and he would get one over on Roman Reigns. What do you think about this segment?
This absolutely undid everything they were doing, building up title unifications. And this is one of the main reasons why SmackDown is on my shit list for the week.
Yeah,
You got Roman
go ahead.
preaching and begging the Usos to get their shit together when going up against RK Bro. They need all the titles to be at the table. I understand that. But then just to throw a match at Backlash, they completely cockeyed all over it. Deleted the tag team title unification. I'm sure it'll happen again eventually.
I don't know
But
that
just
that's what
for the sake
happened.
of having Roman.
I know you're talking about that segment between Adam Pearce and Paul Heyman that happened later on. I don't know that that's the match that's going to happen yet. I think Adam Pearce's way out of this would be to go, Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns could be the match. Maybe they do get in. Maybe it's still a title unification match. It's just involves all six men rather than the two tag teams, which would be stupid to me. But
Oh, it would be stupid, but at the same time, if you wanted to do something with, we all pretty much know at this point the Usos are going to go over in this match, right? Why not make it the tag team title unification match with the WWE and Universal Championships on the line as well? Like, wouldn't that make some sort of sense? Like, instead of just throwing that all out?
well, it depends on where they're going and how long they want to run this Drew McIntyre Roman Reigns feud. Because remember, I was convinced it wasn't happening yet, despite the fact that they had the European tour this week where they're going to be on top. I thought this month they were just going to throw Shinsuke in there or someone else. But I mean, we talked last week. I was pretty much convinced it was going to be Shinsuke, and
Yeah.
here comes Drew McIntyre in to make the save here, which surprised me that they brought him in this early. Because we've got to get if Drew McIntyre Roman Reigns is going to be the main event for the Wales show, like I suspected. That's not until September 3rd. So we got 4 months, 4 months and 2 days to get to that. So you could have started the Drew McIntyre feud next month maybe, and you could get 3 matches out of it. But maybe this is a way to get kind of an extra 4th match. You get a little bit of an early start, so that way you have something going into this European feud. WrestleMania Backlash, maybe you do this 6-man tag, weird thing, whatever you're doing. And you can still unify the titles later, I guess, at a bigger show. You got SummerSlam coming up. But you can have, this be kind of the first interaction in this feud between McIntyre and Reigns at WrestleMania Backlash, and then have another match at next month's pay-per-view, then at SummerSlam, and then finally blow it off in Wales at I had it as part of our quick jabs here, but Clash at the Castle is the name of that event in Cardiff. Because I'm still, you got to put Drew McIntyre in the main event of your Wales event, right? Of your UK event, I would imagine.
Yeah. At the same time, though, there's still NXT UK. There's actually a lot more superstars from Cardiff itself.
Sure, but none as big. None as big from the UK as the Celtic Warrior.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
There's no one else. No one else you could put into the main event scene right now against Roman Reigns, believably.
No.
So I would imagine that would be your main event for that match. So we've got 4 months to get there. So
yeah,
if you're, and that's obviously your priority. That's Roman Reigns is your number one guy on TV right now for both shows because he's got both titles. So you have to build to that. And if you want to start that build now, as much as the RK Bro Usos stuff has been pretty good on TV, and you want to see that match now, and it's been the main event at the TV because Roman Reigns has been off to the side for a little bit here since WrestleMania. This isn't a bad way to do that if Roman Reigns and McIntyre are your priority.
And hopefully that will remain.
It does come at the cost of the RK Bro Uso storyline a little bit here. I agree with you there. All right. We'll move on to there. We had Naomi defeated Shayna Baszler. So we're into the tag team title feud. One half of each team here facing each other. What do you think of this?
I actually really enjoyed this match. Women's division wrestling, when you give it time and let it breathe, like we've talked about in the past, is some of the most entertaining wrestling out there right now. So just let's hopefully this is a trajectory point for making it more visible within WWE.
Yeah, I agree. It's been pretty good in WWE, but yeah, absolutely. Then we had Xavier Woods defeat Ridge Holland. I didn't see any of this stuff. I kind of skipped over the New Day stuff with Ridge and Sheamus and Butch. I don't know anything that happened here because I don't know. I don't have an interest in it. So, and I could
This
only
this
watch so much this
storyline,
week. So, but what? Yeah, go ahead.
the match, honestly, it wasn't good. It was not good at all. Uh, there's also now like this little weird feeling like they're trying to continue this storyline without Big E's involvement when he should have been originally with the plan. And unfortunately, because of the injury, they can't have him in it. Uh, so it feels like they're just kind of on like this weird like limp mode with the entire angle. And I think pretty much the consensus across the board is this angle's getting that go away heat, and they just need to end it.
Yeah, unfortunately, where what do you do with them all once it's over? Because you've got five guys here, and at least it's keeping them on TV. So we'll see what happens because they all deserve to be on TV for sure. So we'll see what happens here. That led into a match between Kofi Kingston and Sheamus, with Sheamus going over. What do you think of this? Just more of the same?
It's more of the same. It literally just all played into the same thing. Just you got to see it twice in a row.
Right. All right. From here, we had the Beat the Clock challenge that main evented SmackDown between Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. Ronda Rousey would defeat Shotzi to start off the Beat the Clock challenge in a certain amount of time. I forget exactly what it was. And then Charlotte did not get Ilea to tap out in time to beat Ronda Rousey's time. So Ronda Rousey would win. Charlotte would go off with the guest timekeeper Drew Gulak and shove him around and kick his butt a little bit. And that ended SmackDown. What do you think of this?
I think the Be a Star campaign needs to get involved and kind of give Gulak some protection, especially at the last couple weeks. Um, poor Shotzi, she got fed to the UFC machine. Uh, the storyline's more of the same, man. It's more of the same.
Yeah, there was nothing that interesting or new here. It was Ronda Rousey getting one up on Charlotte Flair again. So, which I mean, where they're going in this story, you got to imagine this rematch because she just keeps getting one up on the heel. You got to imagine the heel would go over at Backlash, but Ronda Rousey's got to win, right?
So I think maybe we could do a double turn during the match to give Ronda that heat back. Because if you notice, they keep running these Lacey Evans promos where it seems like she's coming back as a face. She's also going to probably, most likely, be your number 3 female on the roster. You'd have to imagine. Um,
Well,
my only concern with that is
go ahead. Go ahead. Never mind.
my only concern with that is though is with these promos that Lacey Evans doing, if they don't walk that fine line with it, I think people could be over her before she even debuts. So it puts them in a really weird spot.
That's what I'm asking here. A lot of this reminds me of the Kurt Angle vignettes before he debuted, where they were theoretically positive angles, but it made him look so good. And obviously he had such an ego about himself that he came out and he was, a huge heel. It almost feels like they're going that direction here with, forgive me, I'm blanking on her name.
Lacey Evans.
Lacey Evans. It feels almost like they're going that direction with Lacey Evans. These, and whether or not these stories are true, I don't know. But these promos, but it's almost over the top in how sappy and yeah, I had such a hard life, and I've overcome that. I don't know that she is going to be a babyface. I think they're making her a heel here, but it's hard to see. It's hard to tell right now.
These stories are actually all factual from my understanding of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pay attention to the internet wrestling community on Twitter, they are eating this up right now, man.
Really? All right.
Oh yeah.
All right. I don't know. It just seemed a little over the top for me with the production of it. That it and they keep doing it, and it's like, okay, all right, all right. You really think people are going to be all about this? All right, and I guess they are. But hey, if it works, it works. All right. From there, we will move on to AEW Dynamite, which kicked off with CM Punk coming out to the announce table, and then the big match we were all waiting for, Dax Harwood versus Cash Wheeler. What'd you think of this match? And go ahead.
The first off, CM Punk on commentary is always gold.
Always gold.
He could commentate a broom fighting a mop, and it would still be top tier comedy. The other thought I had during this match was 6-star FTR, one of the greatest tag teams working today, and somehow they are both hell of singles competitors. They had such a fast-paced match, back and forth, hard-hitting. They did a great job with the deception of, are they actually going to have some heat after this, or are they not? And another thing I really appreciated about this match was hearkening back to some of the spots that happened during the Brett versus Owen match. Entertaining.
I noticed that as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did notice the parallels with the Brett Owen match from WrestleMania. Was it 10 or 11? And
11, yeah.
it was 11.
10, yeah, 10.
Was it 10? Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those two. And yeah, and obviously CM Punk on commentary, I'm a big mark for him. I liked that. I liked the way he put over not just these two, because he was like, I don't always agree with them. I don't necessarily like these guys because they're still a part of Pinnacle and MJF and all that. But I have a lot of respect for him. I like the way he worded all that and put that all out there. But I also liked more how he put over the tournament itself and how everyone wants to be a part of this tournament. Even I wanted to be a part of it, and I'm not. So, I liked all of that. Dax Harwood would go over. I liked the finish. Again, it was a very Bret Hart finish.
It was.
But yeah, it was a fantastic match. After the match was over, CM Punk still on commentary. They announced at Double or Nothing, Hangman Adam Page versus CM Punk for the AEW World Title. And then CM Punk would go and make a walk-in talk, which is great for me as a West Wing fan. And, would walk around the ring doing a promo, putting over the fans and his road to get to that match. What do you think of Punk's promo here?
Well, I'll tell you what, that was a really pleasant surprise that have happened after that match. Especially, you're just finished watching these two dudes emotionally celebrate that one of them at least are getting to advance in the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament. Then you get the announcement, Punk versus Hangman. Punk cutting, per usual, another fantastic promo, really being a man of the people in Philly. So, yeah, just the promo itself, so impassioned, and you could tell Punk is absolutely found his love for pro wrestling again. It's awesome to watch.
For sure. After that, we'd get the Blackpool Combat Club would come out. They would defeat QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, and Nick Camarado. I liked what happened in this match. I saw bits and pieces of it. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing the way I don't have cable. So it's hard for me to watch the AEW shows. But I liked the way with a 3-man tag team that has huge stars like Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley, Wheeler Yuta is the one coming out on top in the last few shows here with them all. I like how they're pushing Wheeler Yuta a lot. And I believe he was the one that got the win, if I'm not mistaken here. So yeah, he's the one with a tag team that includes Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. Wheeler Yuta is the one that got the pinfall victory here. I really like that. What'd you think?
they are telling a very interesting story within a story with this Blackpool Combat Club uh, that I noticed while I was watching this match. And then I got to thinking, we're watching Wheeler Yuta get beat down. And inevitably, he's going to climb his way back up with the help from Blackpool Combat Club, obviously. And he's going to be the one going over. And then I've been thinking back about the last couple times they've all teamed up together. And they're telling that same story over and over again, but each time it's happening to less and less of a degree. So yeah, that's really interesting. Wheeler Yuta's improving and growing on the people every week. Obviously, they're in Yuta's hometown, so he got a little bit more of a hot reaction because of that.
Yeah.
But also, congratulations to Wheeler Yuta, because he's just been announced that he's going to be competing in the Best of the Super Juniors in New Japan.
Okay. All right.
So, interesting all around for him right now.
He's got a lot going for him right now. All right. After that, we had Lance Archer versus Wardlow. Great to see Jake the Snake back on TV, as he was high risk. So now that COVID's sort of starting to go away, hopefully, we've got Jake back on TV here. I did not see any of this. I don't even know. I assume Wardlow went over here. What happened? And what did you think of
it? This was, let's say you put a Haas battle into Street Fighter Turbo, is essentially what this was. You got big guys doing shit that big guys shouldn't be able to do, all the while still smacking each other in the face. It was a really entertaining match.
I'm looking at this Wardlow with a massive senton. Like Wardlow with a senton? Yeah. All right. Looks like I'll have to go back and watch this match. All right. Interesting stuff there. Stuff with MJF happened after the match? Oh, they were up in a suite watching everything? Okay.
They're up in a suite watching. They're hinting towards who Wardlow's next opponent's going to be. And it's sounding like it's going to be W. Morrissey, also known as Big Cass.
Gotcha. Okay. Then we had the Jericho Appreciation Society call out Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. I haven't seen any of the Jericho Appreciation Society. For whatever reason, it's really weird to say this about Jericho because I love Jericho. I've loved Jericho since 1998. I have no interest in any of this stuff with Jericho right now. But what do you think of the goings on here with the Jericho Appreciation Society?
I'm not going to lie. At first, I had a ginormous eye roll when they did this. I think it's getting to the point now, especially with Cody jumping ship back to WWE, it's getting to a point where it's a little played out and a little bit childish to keep throwing shade at WWE like they're intending to do with this whole sports entertainer gimmick. But the more it goes on, the more it makes sense, the more it's actually growing on me. The confrontation itself was interesting. The segment ended with Jericho throwing a fireball into Eddie Kingston's face, which we'll come back to during our Rampage segment. But yeah, it's actually really, really growing on me. Plus, you got the return of the TNA LAX 2.0, which was enjoyable when Kingston could only manage. But now that he's actually getting into the mix as a wrestler as well, all the better for me.
Okay, all right. I'll have to go back and check it out. The whole fans booing sports entertainment and cheering whenever, especially in WWE, whenever pro wrestling is said or the word wrestling or whatever like that is said. It always gets a little bit of a snicker or chuckle out of me because AEW, even with its sports presentation, yeah. It's very much modern sports entertainment wrestling. It's not old school pro wrestling. And anyone that thinks it's closer to that, there are times, but there are times in WWE too. It's not like, the wrestlers got into the business to love wrestling. It's some of them growing up watching WWE, so that's what they do. But guys like Dax and Cash can absolutely put on an old school pro wrestling match like they did. Yet, when those guys get in the ring with the Young Bucks, it's all, they can do it with the Young Bucks, and they can help the Young Bucks have a better match storytelling wise. but the Young Bucks like the sports entertainment flippy shit that I don't like, and so maybe that's why, because they're playing out the whole sports entertainment thing with Jericho, and it's all sports entertainment. He's right, but we'll go ahead and move on from there. This is a match I'm sorry I missed. I really wanted to see this, a Philly street fight between Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida to seemingly blow off their feud. What do you think of this?
Um, it was a good match. They definitely knew where they were at with this match, being Philadelphia, the home of ECW. A lot of homage paid to that. Um, but like you said, hopefully, or you said, this seems like it's going to be the blow off to their rivalry. And at this point, good match, don't get me wrong, but I am ready to see what's next for both of these women. Obviously, Serena Deeb, the professor of professional wrestling, just amazing in any situation she's been put in. And I'm also curious to see what more Hikaru Shida could do as well with the division.
Absolutely. Deeb would win with the Texas Cloverleaf. They did tease backstage. It says right there they had Thunder Rosa watching the match, and they showed her watching Deeb score the victory. So it looks like that might be where we go with Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb, who is quietly one of the best female wrestlers around right now in any company. She was training with the WWE for a while, but glad to see her get back on TV and get some much deserved TV time and notoriety here.
And actually, if better examples who people might recognize her as, she was also in the Straight Edge Society.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where a
So
lot of people will remember for her, but since then she's been building a heck of a career sort of on the indies and behind the scenes in WWE.
absolutely.
After that, we had, well, it looks like there was some stuff, an interview segment with MJF, uh, House of Black stuff. Anything interesting happen here?
It, very cryptic. I'm so lost with the House of Black right now. I don't know what the hell's going on with it.
All right. We did have the return of Ray Phoenix, right? He hasn't been around for a little while, so we got a big return from him, right?
Oh wait, that was this week. I was thinking about the vignettes that they put out the week beforehand. My apologies. Uh, yeah, no, Ray Phoenix. It's going to be very interesting to see where he's going to be at with this match, because that injury looked extremely brutal. And you always wonder, coming back from something like that, if the wrestler's going to have any hesitation to hit the moves that they were hitting around the time that injury happened.
Well, right, yeah, absolutely. I'm a big. We're both big football guys, and we have some mutual friends that are big Washington fans. And back in the day with RG3, RG3 had a great rookie year, but then he got that knee injury. And I remember watching a game with the Young Brothers early on after he came back, and you could tell RG3 was not stepping into a single throw. And so all of his throws were off target, and that RG3 never recovered from that knee injury. He just couldn't get over the mental aspect of it. He was not stepping into a single throw, and I told him that, and they're like, "Oh no, he'll be fine," because the Young Brothers are always optimistic about their Redskins / Commanders, but
Hey, thanks to the Young Brothers, they had me very optimistic about a quarterback named Carson Wentz too. So those guys can just beautiful word poetry.
all right,
It's wrong, but it's beautiful.
We'll get back to wrestling here. We had a big 10-man tag team match to end Dynamite. The Undisputed Elite would go over Dante Martin, the Varsity Blondes, Lee Johnson, and Brock Anderson. What did you think of this match? We had to get a little bit of heat back on the Young Bucks and Adam Cole after a few losses here in a row.
It was interesting to say the least. Backstage segments, it looks like the Undisputed Elite is firing in all cylinders right now. They're all with an agreement and understanding of one another. They're all making fun of poor Brandon Cutler behind the camera. The match itself is exactly what, Bobby, you would expect out of a Young Bucks and Adam Cole match.
So, in other words, I didn't miss anything I would care about. All right.
Basically, yeah.
A whole bunch of flippy shit. And that's sad because I love, obviously the Brock Anderson, Brian Pillman, those are names that have some weight to them and what they mean to real professional wrestling. And it's sad to hear that
Well,
they
you
were
got to think
involved
about
in,
it, though.
in flippy bullshit.
Hey, just
I'm
remember,
going a
though,
little cornet
these
here,
guys, these guys are brand new in the industry.
but yeah.
All right, give it time. They're going to go over on flippy bullshit, but for now, it's flippy bullshit's time to shine. I'm going to pop all your fucking balloons, brother.
No, look here. I definitely hold a lot of Jim Cornette opinions on wrestling. Jim Cornette's the character that he does on his, and he will maintain it's not a character. And I'm sure Jim Cornette's always been heated and over the top. We've seen that
Kayfabe, brother.
We've seen that in Wendy's drive-thrus, but he still, this is what sells his podcast, is him, really digging into the things he dislikes about current wrestling. I agree with a lot of his opinions on current wrestling, but at the same time, I also understand the business is opened up, so you can't sell the business like it's real anymore, like it's realistic. You just kind of can't. So that opens up the door to a lot of different ways of wrestling, to things like Danhausen and Orange Cassidy, things that I can't stand, but things that sort of give a wink and a nod to the camera that, yeah, this is fake. But and on the same show, you can still have, a Dax and Cash, or, CM Punk MJF, and something that feels very real and old school. So it's just something I have to come to terms with, and I have a little bit. Wrestling's moved on to its current form in the 2020s, and it's always going to be a little bit of sports entertainment, and it's going to continue to go that way. So my biggest problem with some of the stuff that the teams like, or wrestlers like the Young Bucks do, is they're not even really telling a story in the ring. It's just a succession of high spots. So there's no real story. Sometimes when they get in there with someone who can tell a story, like FTR, it can end up being a hell of a match. But that's my issue with wrestling today, and we can move on from that, unless you have something to add.
Go back and watch some of the Young Bucks later stuff in New Japan. They could tell one hell of a story.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll move on from there to AEW. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was not the last match on Dynamite. We had the TNT Championship ladder match. We had Sammy Guevara defending against Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky would go over. We had a title change here to end Dynamite. What do you think of this?
Going into it, you knew what to expect. Sammy Guevara won the TNT Championship in ladder matches in the past. Scorpio Sky being a former face of the Revolution ladder match winner. Man, it basically everything you could possibly want in a ladder match. Hopefully, though, Scorpio Sky is going to retain for a little bit so we can start actually putting some prestige on the TNT title. Especially after the events of what happened at Triple Mania last night. It looks like we're going to get Tay Conti and Sammy Guevara to kind of go away for like maybe a week or two. So we'll see what happens with that.
Any reservations about the sort of hot potato of the TNT title right now, or do you mind? You think it's okay that it's kind of jumped around a little bit?
No, I do hate it. We talked about this in the past. I'm a firm believer that if you want to put prestige in a championship, you have to have somebody hold it and actually become the face of it. Granted, and not to sound callous, The TNT Championship is always going to be Brody Lee's belt. But we are also moving along with time. And to be honest, nobody thinks the WWF Championship is Bruno Sammartino or Hulk Hogan anymore. You need somebody for people to actually visualize now and know that that is the TNT champion.
Yeah. Again, I'm on both minds of this. I think what they've been doing with the TNT title has, to a degree, worked. It's helped storylines. It's pushed things forward. It's the same thing here with Scorpio Sky and Sammy Guevara. But at some point, you do want the title itself to sort of find someone to stay on for a little bit here. Whether that's Scorpio Sky or not, we'll see. All right,
Oh,
well,
and the one thing I forgot to mention in all of that is we had a pretty cool moment with Frankie Kazarian getting involved as well, looking like that SoCal Uncensored is kind of making a click reunion of sorts within the Men of the Year and American Top Team.
all right. All right, so now we will move on to Rampage, which started off with Swerve Strickland against Darby Allin in another Owen Hart tournament qualifying match. Darby Allin would go over. What do you think of this match?
Just to begin with Rampage in general, Chris Jericho on commentary with Taz, much like CM Punk, golden. Just some of the most belly laughs I've ever had from a wrestling broadcast.
I mean,
Swerve Strickland
Jericho,
versus Darby.
Taz is always hilarious. Jericho, I've heard him on commentary and Dynamite before. I didn't watch Rampage this week, other than a few moments here and there. But Jericho on commentary in AEW has always been cringeworthy to me. But I can see him and Taz being hilarious, maybe too hilarious at times, but I can see them actually popping me.
It's absolutely that. Jericho without Taz kind of, propping him up on the commentary. Taz and Jericho is what made each other with it. But as far as the match itself, Swerve Strickland versus Darby Allin, they did a great job before the match to hype up the history between Darby and Swerve. Really interesting match. Definitely doesn't seem like this feud's over by any stretch of the imagination, especially now that Team FTW is getting involved with it. Starks trying to intervene. Sting stepped in and said, we're not doing this. And then Darby, even though it's one of my most hated ways to end a match, schoolboy roll up for the pin. But yeah, that decent match.
Yeah, and then after that, they went into the. You wanted to talk about the Santana and Ortiz and Jericho stuff. What happened there in in a segment between here?
So they got to Chris Jericho talking about him throwing the fireball into Eddie Kingston's face on Dynamite last week. So for that, and this popped the hell out of me, Chris Jericho gave himself the Chris Jericho Sports Entertainer of the Week award. And they had a whole graphic made that they put up on screen and everything like that. Out comes Santana Ortiz and gives him a little mollywhopping on the top of the stage. Leave him lying while they go to break. Break comes back. He's back on commentary. But it was an interesting little segment they had that is keeping this storyline going.
All right. After that, we had Jade Cargill and a couple of her baddies, Kira Hogan and Red Velvet, would defeat Sky Blue, Willow Nightingale, and Trish Adore. Anything fun happen here?
Yeah, Willow Nightingale didn't get a single lick of offense in the entire match. She was pretty much beat to the slaughter at that point. This team is interesting. I love them. The match itself, fantastic. There is one thing, though, that kind of made me have a dislike for this segment, and it was a knock against Rampage itself. This time last year, Red Velvet and Jade Cargill were feuding. And it just kind of went away, and they never addressed that it was resolved in any kind of way. And now they're in the baddie section together.
All right. Uh, Obviously, this was a very short match, and with Rampage only being 1 hour, you're gonna have to have that sometimes. But I do like the idea. We've built Jade Cargill up. She's the TBS champion. She's 30-0 in singles competition. I like the idea of putting Kira and Red Velvet behind her to sort of, because she's still green. Jade Cargill's still green. She's only been in business a little over a year now.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of having a little more experience behind her. You can get her in some tag matches and some 6-man tags or 6-person tags, excuse me, to kind of get her maybe some longer matches and some stuff where she actually has to wrestle a little bit more and get her a little bit more experience. Because that's another problem with modern wrestling is there's not as much talent. There's a lot of talent out there, but so much of it is green, and they're getting experience on television.
Yeah, try not to get them exposed.
Yeah. So here's a good way, the perfect way to put it. Here's a way to try to keep Jade Cargill from getting exposed as being too green here by having Kira Hogan and Red Velvet backing her up. After that, we had Keith Lee go over Colton Gunn. What'd you think of this?
Man, Keith Lee, he's on a tear right now. It's awesome. He's being used the way he should have been used for a long time. And Colton Gunn knew the assignment, brother. He went out there. He got some pretty awesome heat. Keith Lee still looked like a monster, though. Colton did a hell of a job looking like a doormat. After the match, though, a really interesting segment where the Ass Boys are back in the back licking their wounds, and the Acclaim comes up and awkwardly asks them to all scissor together. But it's about family with those boys. They're like, no, we got to go talk to our dad about this. So that was cool to see what they're setting up with this little angle here.
All right. After that, we had some stuff with Danhausen and Hook in the ring. Danhausen came out, challenged Hook, send Hook. Hook comes out. They got in the face. Danhausen started having second thoughts. It's like, maybe we'll do this another time. And Hook spoke once again. We'll do this right now. But then we had Tony Nese and Mark Sterling come out, and they attacked Hook and Danhausen both. But Hook and Danhausen would fend off the attack, and the crowd started chanting Hookhausen. You think we're going to get Hook and Danhausen teaming together here?
Oh, my God. So, first off, you forget how great of a look Tony Nese has. And if I can get Tony Nese versus Hook, that would be a hell of a technical match, as also high flying with Nese. But listen, according to Danhausen, they're one handshake away from Hookhausen, and that will sell on a t-shirt. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get Hookhausen.
For at least one match anyway, yeah. And the crowd was all for it. These are two guys that the crowd absolutely blows up for, and again, this goes back to what I was saying before. Danhausen in the ring in a pro wrestling show, as much as I love him in the stuff I've seen of him, he's not my thing as far as pro wrestling goes. But that's the direction pro wrestling has gone in. It is what it is. He's over. He's hot. Hook is as well, and I hate to see again something as out there as Danhausen paired with something as serious as Hook. But maybe this can work in a strange way. We'll see. After that, we went into the main event of Rampage, a Ring of Honor television title match. Samoa Joe defending successfully versus Trent. What did you think about this?
The match itself proves once again why Trent Beretta is one of the most underrated and underutilized talents in professional wrestling. The match between him and Joe I mean, Trent Bray, you're going to get a good match. Mojo, you're going to usually get a good match out of. But then you put those two together, and it was kind of one of those matches that just made you want more.
Good. That's good, and that's what Rampage should do, make you want more. All right. That was pretty much it for AEW this week. Now, I know you wanted to talk about a few other things on wrestling that happened this week. What do you want to add?
Just to add off of, since we're coming off our AEW segment, uh, last night they had Wrestling Dontaku for New Japan, and this is actually leading up with the Forbidden Door. Prior to it, they're going to have the IWGP Heavyweight Championship match between Jay White and, my God, Rainmaker. I'm forgetting his name right now. Why is this happening? Kazuchika Okada. Jesus. So, depending on what we get with potential Bullet Club having that championship heading into this weird union that they're having with the Undisputed Elite, and then the addition of Juice Robinson in the Bullet Club, this is shaping up like Forbidden Door may have just some Bullet Club versus AEW main event, I feel like is what we're heading towards.
It does kind of feel that way. That'd be very interesting. I'd like to see how that Forbidden Door pay-per-view stacks up for sure. Anything else you wanted to add that happened this week that you saw on TV with those 11 shows?
Oh my God. GCW put on another great show as usual. If you're a big fan of outlaw dirt show mud wrestling like I am, the rest of Wrestling Dontaku overall, really good pay-per-view. Got you really hyped for Best of the Super Juniors coming up, like we mentioned, Willer Yuta being in that, along with El Phantasmo and Austin Ace as well. My God, I'm blanking out here. I apologize. It was actually, though, a great weekend overall of wrestling.
How was your 5-star match on 2K22? That was good too?
So that was actually a tag team ladder match. Got a little bit more TLC like at the end there, but in the end, we had the Hardy Boys come out on top.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on from there to our first full topic after going through this week in wrestling TV. We're going to actually touch on a subject that we touched on during the Raw talk. 20 years, Randy Orton in the WWE. It's been a heck of a career so far, and we've had one full year of RK Bro. Tony texted me that earlier this week, and I had no idea it had been that long RK Bro had been together. So let's talk about the career of Randy Orton a little bit. What do you want to go through here? Like his start in those tights, then of course Evolution was really the big jump for him. I guess we can start there. What do you think of Evolution and Randy Orton's role in Evolution?
Evolution was an amazing catalyst for what we know as professional wrestling today. You had two guys who were green, and Batista and Randy Orton. Granted, they all came up from FCW together, or OVW. I apologize.
Yeah. Under Cornette. Yeah.
Yep, under Cornette. But you had this awesome machine of the two young guys sitting underneath the well-oiled machine who's in the prime, who is sitting underneath the living legend of Ric Flair. They really set that group up too in a way that was designed to catapult the both of them. Something that you don't necessarily see too much of out of professional wrestling right now. So going forward into his career, it seemed like he was already destined for big things. And actually his first post-Evolution storyline involved him being at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. Certainly the way Evolution spun off Batista into superstardom and Randy Orton into superstardom is can't be understated. He would go on to obviously have a match with Triple H. He would win the world title the World Heavyweight title and would feud with Triple H. He would go through, you get the voices in his head. He became the Legend Killer, had great matches with Mick Foley, among others during that run. What do you think of Legend Killer Randy Orton?
The Legend Killer gimmick was always awesome to me because you had him ultimately trying to end the legendary career that was The Undertaker. It was actually how that whole thing ended. But going through it, you got to see him mix it up with some of the biggest legends in the industry. He also had his dad by his side with him through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there, I mean, it was just pretty awesome to see. I'm a sucker for those father-son storylines.
And then we go on where Randy Orton was just he was always in good matches. CM Punk at WrestleMania 27 was a good one. He was always in the title hunt. He was the first WWE World Heavyweight Champion going into WrestleMania 30, where he would lose that to Daniel Bryan in that triple threat match. Anything through that run, he had a good run with Triple H during that time, I believe, and some craziness with Stephanie and all that stuff. What do you think of that whole run there, up through WrestleMania 30ish?
That run right there, especially when you consider that point in his career. I mean, this is when the failed hot piss test started happening and he started getting popped for a lot of different things and having troubles outside of the ring. This is the beginning of where his comeback story started. So from there, building upon mistakes he's learned in the past to get himself back up top with that match at WrestleMania 30. This was an interesting point in his career, but as we see going on, that the best of it's still to come with him.
Yeah, and then of course we have the last few years we had a fantastic feud with Edge. That unfortunately much of it happened during COVID. Would have been great to see that feud in front of a crowd. But that was Edge's first big feud back, and then that would lead us into RK Bro, and it was during that feud with Edge I really felt Randy Orton was never bad on the mic, but he really started to really take it up another notch in his promo work in that feud with Edge and during COVID. I think that's one of the good things to come out of COVID was I think some of the promos it were enhanced to Roman Reigns especially as well, and then Randy Orton here, someone who always had an okay promo, but really took it up another couple of notches here. And then that would lead into RK Bro, and where we're at right now with very happy babyface Randy Orton. And when I say happy, and he talked about it on Raw during the promo, but I think that's legit. I think he's having some of the funnest times of his career right now. What do you think of the last few years of Randy Orton, from COVID up to RK Bro?
Yeah, again, that COVID promo style is where Randy Orton kind of was able to expel more of his newer personality. He's not wrestling like he's his age at all.
No.
20 years in the business, you can't tell. As far as this whole RK Bro thing, you're very aware by now that this is one of the better tag teams that WWE has done an odd couple pairing with in quite a while. I'm just hoping it continues for him. At the same time, though, I'm kind of hoping we do get maybe one more Randy Orton WWE champion run.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. He's at 14 right now, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure we will at some point, but I love what he's doing with RK Bro right now. It's absolutely fantastic. Obviously, the stuff he did with Edge during COVID. But this is probably the most I've been interested in watching Randy Orton in a while. You could just tell he's having a lot of fun, where sometimes he almost looked a little bored. I'm curious. I want to know, do you prefer heel Randy Orton or babyface Randy Orton?
Just the way I like Edge being the rated R superstar heel, I prefer the Legend Killer Randy Orton heel above all else.
Yeah. Heel Randy Orton's very good and psychological, and he's got and there's that WWE evil show on the network, and I haven't seen it yet, but there's that clip that just really sold me on the show and why I've got to go watch that show of Randy Orton just psyching himself up and getting into that headspace. But yeah, I'm excited to see where they go. Obviously, RK Bro is not going to last forever, but that will hopefully lead into a great feud between the two of them at some point as well. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our next topic. WWE has released 10 superstars this week, mostly all out of NXT, including a couple of big names like Dakota Kai and Dexter Lumis. What do you think of these releases here? Actually, let me bring up the list of names here. I think I can go. There we go. So we've got Dexter Lumis. Oh, come on. Hitting the wrong button here. We got Dexter Lumis, Malcolm Bevins, Dakota Kai, Harland, Persia Parada, who's been on NXT a lot lately, Raylan Devine, Draco Anthony, Vish Kanya, Mila Milani, and Blair Baldwin. What names stick out to you here?
Obviously, you would like to say Dakota Kai, but you knew she's already made it very vocal that she wasn't going to be re-signing her contract when it was up with WWE regardless. The two names that stood out to me the most on the list, Harland, aka Parker Bourdois, featured prominently, had a rivalry going with Gacy between what's his name, Braun Breaker. He was the real enforcer in that feud, and it looked like they were pushing him. But of course, they say things like, because of he wasn't progressing the way we had anticipated him to, doesn't mean that his future is necessarily over. The other name on that list was Dexter Lumis.
Yeah.
Dexter Lumis was somebody who I thought was going to be a big single star, and he kind of got bogged down in that, again, traditional WWE machine theme of we're going to put you in weird groups. And recently at the NXT TakeOver event in Dallas, he was involved in Who's the Sexiest Cowboy thing. So again, unfortunately, that's another drop ball by WWE. And unfortunately, I also don't necessarily believe, if you listen to anything that's been said, that these are going to be our last 10.
Yeah, there are rumors that more are going to happen. It's entirely possible that while we're filming this, and I haven't had Twitter up, it's entirely possible more names have already been dropped. But these are the 10 we've got right now. Obviously, I haven't seen a lot of these people. I know Persia Parada's been on NXT television a lot lately, hasn't she? Hasn't she been? Isn't she one of the two that were like making out with the other guys all the time on NXT TV? Yeah. Well, I'm not sorry to see that storyline go. NXT's been a little too horny for me, but certainly someone they've had on TV a lot right there. Not part of the as being released. Excuse me. Let me get my words straight here. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our next topic. Inspiration. Jessica McKay and Cassie Lee have announced on Twitter that they are leaving Impact Wrestling and stepping away from the ring. The former Iconics in WWE. What do you think of this? It was a little surprising news, right?
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising to me. It seemed like they're having a real resurgence with Impact.
Yeah.
Especially more surprising because Cassie Lee is Sean Spears' real life wife, and also a trainer at the Flatbacks Wrestling School they own in Apopka. Excuse me. And with Jessica McKay as well. Both very talented, very gifted, and seemed like they had more steam to go, but just very random. I'm curious to see what's going to come out about this, because I feel like we're not getting the whole story about something.
Yeah, maybe it definitely came out of nowhere. It was very surprising, as was their release. To me, is up there with, say, Bray Wyatt and their WWE release, because they were very well liked. It seemed like backstage, they were on TV a lot, and here we are now. They're stepping away from the ring entirely. So definitely surprising, and I'm sure we'll get more to this story later on. All right, we can move on from there to our next story. Slammiversary is coming up on June 19th. Tickets went on sale, in fact, Friday. Slammiversary will mark the 20th anniversary of TNA and Impact Wrestling. And there was a great promo video that I shared with you earlier in the week that they put out on Twitter that showed a lot of old TNA footage and a lot of familiar faces from Jeff Jarrett to CM Punk and others. What do you think of TNA 20 years old coming up here soon?
It's very hard to believe that they've even made to a 20-year period, because I remember a time not so long ago where TNA was holding their first show down in Tampa, and I asked you if you had any interest in seeing it. And I believe you said something along the lines of, yeah, I just wouldn't pay for TNA. And that's when Cole, our buddy, made the joke behind the bar that I do, and made a joke about a bar tab. Just for whatever reason, that just sticks out to me every time I think about TNA hitting 20 years.
I don't have any memory of that, but all right. I said that? I would, all right.
It was during the whole, I believe, the weird knockoff Sons of Anarchy thing they were doing with Hogan and Bully Ray.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it's awesome to see. Hopefully, now that the wrestling industry is more open door, we'll get some of those names that come back for it as well. That would probably mean a lot. I mean, and then you think about it, maybe we get AJ to come back for something, seeing as how Mickey James was loaned to WWE. I do hope, though, that they are able to make this very.
I doubt, I don't see that happening because there's no benefit to WWE. There was clear benefit to TNA. They got one of their stars on WWE TV, and they got to put their belt on WWE TV. I don't see the benefit the other way. I don't see WWE letting that happen. But
it's just like when they did the Ric Flair Christian trade for the Hall of Fame at the time.
Right. But again, there was a clear benefit there for WWE in that trade. Here, what would WWE get out of, unless there's something that they do again two ways, but yeah, some of the guys in AEW maybe could show up. The Punk's a brief part of this promo, but Punk, you're right there. But he only had a cup of coffee in TNA, and from what I understood, he didn't leave on the best terms with TNA, from what I remember. And very shortly after that, had his Summer of Punk run in Ring of Honor. But I'm curious. I think what could happen, I think you'll get maybe a Jeff Jarrett appearance. And I don't know how his dad, how Jerry Jarrett, is health-wise right now. Hopefully he's doing fine and well, and maybe he could make an appearance as well. Because it was Jerry and Jeff that started TNA. Anything more you want to say about Slammiversary?
Leading up to it right now, the way, and I don't know if you keep track on anything that's Impact related, that they do a weekly television. But right now, I mean, Impact is one of the better brands that you can watch on television. So I think leading into Slammiversary, we're going to have a really interesting card, especially considering the amount of cross-company promotion going on within Impact right now.
Yeah. It's something I definitely have an interest in checking out for sure, even though I don't really watch Impact. All right, we can move on from there to our quick jab segment here. We'll just run through. Oop, I never switched my thing for that title, but all right, well, that's all right. We'll move on to our quick jab segment here. We'll talk about first FTR. Was on sessions with Renee Paquette this week. The full episode dropped yesterday, but a clip of it was released earlier in the week where they talked about the FTR to WWE rumors that WWE was interested in FTR, and they talked about how, hey, that's flattering, but But right now we told Tony Khan, as long as we're contracted to you, we're not going to be talking to anybody else. Our word means something. What do you think of this little clip from FTR on Sessions?
You know, I think if you find value in a tag team or a wrestler itself, there could be benefits from having, like we've been talking about, cross promotional branding with it. God damn, wouldn't it be something if, let's say, 2 years down the line, we see FTR taking on, let's say, the Usos for a title versus title match or something along those lines. Now, as far as the interview itself goes, while they did say that, they also kind of left that door open as they would be interested in the future, maybe potentially one day going back.
Yeah.
Uh, so it kind of, for me at least, it left me with a couple more questions before I could say that we found the answer on that.
Well,
But
another big part of their answer was that WWE's never going to push tag team wrestling the way they want it to be pushed, the way because they want to be the best tag team in the world, and they didn't feel like they could be that in the WWE, so that's why they left. And certainly going back there might be something to do in the future, but it certainly we've seen with the Usos and RK Bro, that's been their main feud, but they're already kind of watering it down a little bit with Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. We talked about that earlier today. So I think if the opportunity ever arises, it's something. It won't be an easy decision for them because WWE is WWE. It's New York. It's where you want to go in wrestling. But at the same time, as a tag team, you're never going to get that main event push in WWE. It just is what it is. It's Vince isn't a tag team guy. We can move on from there to a scary incident at a live event in the UK on their European tour this week. The top rope broke in a match with Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, and I'll go ahead and play the video here. It was a scary moment. They were both hit the ropes at about the same time. When Drew McIntyre hits it there, the top rope completely breaks, snaps apart. Bobby Lashley, expecting to hit the top rope, just falls right over, flips right over. Luckily, did a full flip and landed on his knees. It looked like, but that could have been really scary if he had landed on his head. Quite a scary moment here. Thankfully, everyone was all right, and Bobby Lashley was able to finish the match. What do you think of this?
just the motion his body made and missing the rope when he basically went like full ragdoll. That was a scary enough of a situation to see, especially knowing he's coming back from just being off TV for so long. Man, it's just brutal stuff like this, unfortunately, is a part of the business, and it happens. Just look at what happened to Cash Wheeler not 3-4 months ago with the turnbuckle incident he had. Scary stuff,
Yeah.
though, nonetheless, and very fortunate that he's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Very happy he is okay. And continuing on with the European tour. All right, we can move on from there. The next thing we can talk about was this fun little interview moment with Brooke Hogan, where she brought up unions and wrestling unions, apparently not knowing some of the history of how that has gone down in wrestling. I'm actually going to go ahead and play this clip for everyone to hear. For those that don't know, it's Vince McMahon during the steroid trial, under oath, said that when Jesse Ventura was trying to get a union together with the boys, Hulk Hogan was the one that stooged him out to Vince McMahon, and Vince was able to put the kibosh on it. And apparently, that little bit of history is not known by Brooke Hogan here. And I actually watched the interviewer's reaction as she starts to talk about it. His reaction is priceless. Yeah, let's watch this video.
It's funny because I was talking to, who was I talking to? Brittany Page, actually, Diamond Dallas Page's daughter.
Right.
And, we were like, why isn't there a wrestling union? Why? And I gave it a Google, and I don't really want to dive into that. But
well, I think there's one reason, isn't there?
There's one reason.
And his name is?
I don't know. I have no idea who you're talking about. But
okay.
No, I just, it's funny because I was talking to...
So, yeah. Clearly, yeah. And she says she Googled it and she doesn't want to talk about it. Then she just acted like she didn't know, or maybe she never did find out. But yeah, the interviewer's reaction was priceless to me. The way he kind of went, really?
Those eyebrows damn near Groucho marked off his forehead.
But just a little fun little moment here with Brooke Hogan that for all of us in the IWC to laugh at here. We can go ahead and move on and to the next topic. We touched on it a little bit ago talking about Drew McIntyre, but they've named their event in Cardiff, Wales. They're calling it Clash at the Castle, and this is their promo art for it. What do you think of this name?
I hate the name and I hate the promo art. I think the promo art, unfortunately, looks very 90s. Like they just threw it up on paint or something real quick. The name in itself, I mean, again, trying to be positive with WWE, it's catchy, but it just doesn't sit right with me for some reason.
I don't mind it so much. I'm okay with it. It's the red and green is fine. I'm just noticing the T is the sword, so I definitely, again, I think you're gonna get Drew McIntyre at the top of this card. Probably against Roman Reigns. Yeah. Even though it's still 4 months out and they're already starting it. So we'll see how that plays out. One more piece of info I didn't write down, and I don't... Here, let me see if I can find it. I'll switch over. But the Briscoe brothers had to cancel a few bookings here because of... apparently Mark's pregnant wife had to go to the hospital with some complications with the pregnancy. At the moment, it seems everything is okay. But let me see if I can find the statement here real quick. All I see is all the ads for the spots that they're not going to be appearing at as. But do you still have the here? Let me.
I have the Clip Notes version of it.
Go ahead.
Mark, his wife were rushed to the hospital due to complications with her pregnancy. They had to pull out of the GCW show, which Saturday night they were scheduled to be in a GCW tag team title match between obviously the Briscoes versus Bussy versus the Second Gear Crew. And they were also scheduled to appear tonight for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Unfortunately, due to the complications, they're going to have to pull out of both appearances.
Yeah, there it is there. I found it. Jay Briscoe shared this a bit here. Yeah, they're having to pull out of the GCW and PWG appearances this week. Hopefully everything works out okay. And mom and baby continue to make a recovery, and we don't have to have a premature birth there, that for sure. Anything you want to add?
No, just prayers to them, man. As a father, it's one of the scariest situations that there's something going on within the mother's body that you can't control.
There's no control.
So it's really a tough feeling, and my condolences.
100%. All right. We can move on to there. Anything in pro wrestling at all that you want to add to today's show?
We're coming off the 9th birthday of Bullet Club, so happy birthday for them making it cool again to be bad. And it's also really cool when the two tribes can come together to realize that just one person is a douchebag.
Yeah, and that person is Ryback. We certainly know about that. All right. Thank you guys.
You said the secret word!
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let us know what you think of all the things we talked about today. And we'll see you next week.